and welcome to Lunchtime Politics. First, the highlights. Saturday is the big day for the crucial governorship and State House of Assembly elections. INEC set for the exercise. Security deployment across states ongoing as police hierarchy warns citizens against election day violence. Plus, we're joined by the Director, Information Security Development at Cybersecurity Expert Association of Nigeria on safeguarding our cyberspace, especially on election day. And thanks for joining us. I'm Millicent Walker in Lagos. It's another election eve and the stage appears set for the governorship and houses of assembly elections in the country. Going by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC's guidelines, the political parties ended their campaigns by midnight yesterday, and everyone is now looking ahead to the big day, Saturday. INEC began movement of electoral materials since Wednesday, and according to the National Chairman, Voter Education, Mr. Festus Okoye, sensitive materials are where it should be and are secured by the state. In the meantime, the Nigeria Police has called on eligible voters to feel free to approach their polling units, cast their votes orderly and avoid trouble. He has a word for voters.
The governorship and State House of Assembly elections are considered local and closer to the people. It is for this reason that civil society groups say they are shifting their attention to the polls. The Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room at a news conference in Abuja appealed to security agencies.
We apologize for that mix-up. We'll bring you the story on the civil society organizations shortly. But staying with electoral matters, and this is coming from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Well, they have approached the Court of Appeal, Abuja, asking it to set aside the judgment of the Federal High Court, which ordered it to allow electorate with temporary voter cards, TVC, to vote in the governorship and National Assembly elections billed for Saturday, March 18. In the suit, the electoral body applied for an order of injunction against the execution of the judgment delivered March 9, directing them to allow the respondents use their temporary voter cards in lieu of the permanent voter cards for the 2023 general elections pending the determination of its appeal. Now, in its three grounds of appeal, INEC held that the Federal High Court, Abuja, erred in its judgment when it dismissed its position that allowing use of TVC would amount to usurpation of the powers of the National Assembly under Item 2 of the concurrent legislative list. It faulted the trial court for declaring that PVC was not mentioned in the Constitution or the Electoral Act as a condition to be allowed to vote or as the only means a voter would be entitled to be verified, accredited to vote. Now, according to INEC, by the combined provision of Section 47, subsection 1 and 2 of the Electoral Act 2022, as well as paragraph 5, subsection 4 of the INEC regulations and guidelines for the conduct of elections, a person is eligible to vote at an election conducted by the Commission if he or she presents a valid PVC at the polling unit in which he's registered as a voter. It further argued that by virtue of Section 18, subsection 3 of the Electoral Act, the intendment of the lawmakers is clear for the effect that a PVC is the only valid instrument for voter accreditation at polling units with the use of BVAS machine in elections. But the plaintiffs on Thursday confirmed service of INEC's appeal on them, even as they accused the electoral body of attempting to breach their constitutional right to participate in the elections. They were speaking through their lead counsel, where they said the plaintiffs said they would challenge the appeal. And now to the story where hours into the governorship and state assembly elections in Nigeria, civil society groups are appealing to INEC to address the lapses experienced in the February 25th presidential election in order to ensure transparent polls. Speaking at the pre-election media briefing in Abuja, members of the civil society organizations urged security agencies to protect the electorate against intimidation and attacks.
The governorship and State House of Assembly elections are considered local and closer to the people. It is for this reason that civil society groups say they are shifting their attention to the polls. The Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room at a news conference in Abuja appealed to security agencies to protect voters, while Yaga Africa appealed for improved performance by INEC.
Ahead of the elections, the security situation across the country appears tense, with reports of violence, kidnap and assassination in several states, including Lagos, Rivers, Imo, Abia, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Kano. As such, Situation Room reminds the Nigerian police and other security agencies that they have primary responsibility to guarantee the safety and security of election officials, as well as other election stakeholders, including the voters.
Our findings noted a few polling units where voters were denied opportunities to vote. Our findings noted a few polling units where voters were permitted to vote without due accreditation with the beavers and the undue delay in uploading the polling unit results on the INEC election results viewing portal, IREV. In addition, a major learning from the presidential election is that logistical challenges and disregard for electoral guidelines undermine public confidence in the electoral process and outcome.
The Connected Development, Code, and Ready to Lead Africa on their part are asking the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to justify the over 300 billion naira budgeted for the conduct of the 2023 general elections.
It is important that the IREV works this time. I understand that the government has said that there was an attempt to hack the IREV server. But I want to believe that the government have put in place mechanism and measures that protects the IREG server and ensure that this time, in these elections, the server actually delivers on the promises that INEC had made.
Having acknowledged the importance of technology in our electoral system, we call on INEC to fully utilize the BVAS machine and ensure the professional conduct of INEC staff in the organization of the 2023 governorship elections across the 28 states come 18th March 2023.
As Nigerians go to the polls on Saturday to elect their leaders at the state level, the major concern of civil society groups appears to be the performance of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
Well, still ahead of tomorrow's elections, the National Peace Committee, they're appealing to all Nigerians to eschew violence by remaining law-abiding till the electoral process is brought to an end. In a statement signed by the chairman of the committee, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, the committee expressed worries over the threats of intimidation and violence by some persons who are using ethnic and religious labels to achieve their aim of voter suppression. The committee further appeals to security and law enforcement agencies to remain alert in order to arrest anyone who poses a threat to the peaceful conduct of the elections. We head to Anambra, which is one of the off-cycle election states, albeit state assembly polls will be holding tomorrow. The Anambra State Resident Electoral Commissioner, Mrs. Love Agu, is reiterating the readiness of INEC to conduct a transparent, credible, free and fair poll in the state. Addressing the media at the state headquarters in Oka, Mrs. Agu says about 1,000 BVATs have been reconfigured, tested, fully charged and ready for the House of Assembly election. She adds that the Information Communication Technology Unit has undertaken training for those who will be handling the BVAS and calls on people of the state to come out en masse to perform their civic responsibility.
It is going to be free, fair and credible election, and you are a testimony to that happened. We are so prepared because preparation is the number one step in anything you do in life. We have reconfigured our beavers, tested it, fully charged, we are good to go. We have about 1,000 beavers in Anambra State, and for sure, we are good. The ICT has gone ahead to train the rackets, the people that will be operating the beavers. I don't know, the code of the beavers is no longer going to work. Everybody is very much abreast with the beavers. Both the uploading, everything, we are good to go. The workers are not tensed up. The community people are not tensed up. We start in good time and end up in good time. That's what we've planned, and it must take place. We can assure a number of people that the police, the army, the civil defense, everybody is good to go. The vehicles are in order. The people are trained, the workers, ad hoc workers. They are all, the refresher training has taken place. Both the collection officers and the returning officers. Everybody, SPO, PO, APO, everybody going to work for this election.
Well, only last week, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Issa Pantami, said that on the presidential election day, February 25th, there were a total of over 12 million attacks from within and outside of Nigeria's cyberspace. In a statement by the spokesperson of the minister, he says a total of 1.5 million attacks were recorded daily, while on the presidential election day itself, the figure increased to close to 7 million. Well, let's talk cybersecurity now ahead of the elections, and joining me is the Director of Information Security Development at Cybersecurity Expert Association of Nigeria. He joins me virtually here in Lagos. Thank you. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to begin. Was that expected, that amount of cyber threat to the presidential election?
It's somewhat alarming and a little bit confusing even to us cybersecurity experts. We consider that statistics to be simply erroneous and misleading because how do you come about almost 13 million cyber attacks within 4 days? And the country is not, when we are not under siege. So it begs for a lot of questions from the minister and his committee on how they come about that statistics. And we have requested for a breakdown of activities, so that security experts within the industry can, we can actually lay claim of their facts with some evidences. And then it can be, a learning call for us as a nation and for us as a security expert as well. Because part of what we consider is that perhaps the minister and his committee is misinterpreting security event for security incident. Because when you have security event, which is an observable occurrence, that will affect organization information security. But then when that event now becomes a successful attack, that's when you have security incidents. So we need a better explanation to that, statistic that is being released by, the minister and his committee. Because even if you consider in a nation where they are having, war, for instance, Ukraine and Russia, despite the fact that there are nation-state actors who are more interested in the situation. And even some activists, there was no record of such homogeneous, cyber attacks, for the two countries. So how come, a country is just, undergoing an electioneering process, is recording almost, 13 million cyber attack within 4 days? That's something that, we really need to actually clear here on. And for us as the expert, we want to get the artifacts.
So you're saying this is an exaggeration, but does that mean that there couldn't have been a possibility of an attack to our cyberspace, especially on election day?
Absolutely, that definitely there could have been a potential actors, be hired by whoever who are the interest group, to attempt to infiltrate critical national asset that empower INEC to carry out their electioneering process. But then, how do you quantify those attacks that, because for instance, how do you quantify the amount of distributed denial of service attack that they experience, that they claim to be part of one of the attacks that they experience? How do you quantify it? Are you trying to tell us that you can pinpoint close to about 10 million, 2 million IP addresses trying to carry out the same distributed denial of service attack, because you have to understand the rudiment around some of these attacks. Some of them are just botnet machine that has been infiltrated and compromised, and somebody is just trying to use them to overload, the website, trying to actually hit the website and see if they can actually cause denial of service attack. So, that artifacts to security issues, and you don't just come out but the definition was not so clear. When you say cyber attack, that means there's the possibility that some of them are successful.
So it's another election we have tomorrow, Saturday, and INEC is using technology. There is the BVAS and also IREV, and we knew there was a lot of issues with IREV and uploading real time. Do you see any threat there as we head to the polls tomorrow?
I think from the statistics released by the minister and his committee, that there's a lot of tension now, because even in cybersecurity, there's something we call incident management communication. When you are communicating incident, there are better ways to go about it, because now you have demonstrated to the global community now that Nigeria is susceptible to a large amount of cyber attacks. So even post-election, we might begin to see a whole lot of attack that could that attackers could have actually be motivated by the claim and the statistics and announcement made by the minister and his committee. So obviously we will be waiting for the outcome of whatever they are also going to talk about during the governorship and state House of Assembly election. But then for the technology, I believe INEC has done their bit. Yes, the IREV, could be prone to attacks, because, some people might have ulterior intention, to manipulate data or manipulate outcome of the election. But then, those are part of what we've clamored for in the time past, that it is important maybe going forward that even INEC as the umpire, subject some of these technology to expert group opinion view. So when you bring this expert group to have a review, an expert group like the Cybersecurity Expert Association of Nigeria can make a statement, I think that will also give the general citizens some level of convenience and conviction about how INEC is going about to carry out the electioneering process, because that gives them a lot of confidence in the process, and we are able to. So even for the committee, because we consider that statement as something that should come from the Office of the National Security Advisor. We don't know if it is that the minister and the NSC decided to have a coordinated front for monitoring, critical assets for electioneering purpose. But we believe that it is not within the remit of the minister, to even come out to make that claim. It should be within the jurisdiction of the National Security Advisor and the SAT-NG, to have come out and make some statement as regards to that. But that is made, it could have been a coordinated effort from both ends. But then the statistics for us is erroneous and are quite misleading.
We'll continue to watch that space. We appreciate your time. Many thanks. So Olatunji Galajobi, thank you for joining me on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Move on to other stories. The resident electoral commissioner for Adamawa State, Hudu Yunusa Ari, has assured the people of the state of a seamless electoral process during Saturday's governorship and state assembly elections. He gave the assurance while supervising the deployment of sensitive and non-sensitive materials at the premises of the Central Bank of Nigeria in Yola, the Adamawa State capital.
To collect the sensitive and non-sensitive election materials for the governorship and state house assembly elections. And as you have seen, each local government is collecting its own. Well, about 7 of them out of 21 have collected the materials. So more are coming, and the more they come, they collect their materials. We have the engagement with the transporters, as you said, and the Maritime Workers Union. And each one is coming, and the materials are loaded, and then off they go to the various registration.
So far the process is good. Since we came in, we have witnessed the distribution of sensitive election materials, and so far so good. The process is smooth and very transparent. My expectation is that we are going to have a smooth, successful, free, credible election come Saturday, and we're going to expect that the election is going to be hitch-free as well, devoid of any disturbances.
Still to come on the program, security agencies in the southwest and south-south admonish men and officers of their command on professionalism and the discharge of their duties ahead of the governorship and House of Assembly elections. We have that and more when we return. Welcome back. The Public Relations Officer of the Nigerian Police Force, CSP Olumiwa Adijobi, has assured Nigerians of a peaceful and secure governorship in State House of Assembly elections. Mr. Adijobi, who was a guest on our election coverage program, the 2023 verdict, said the force have learnt valuable lessons from the presidential and National Assembly elections and have built on it to ensure a better outing tomorrow.
Whatever the figures, pictures you must have seen, we still want to have that strong belief that we have done well. In the histories of presidential or general elections in Nigeria, this one has been adjudged one of the best, and for security community, we have done well. But there's room for improvements, like we always say. We have reviewed some of our strategies. You recall that immediately after the election, the IGP called a meeting of all the commissioners of police and above to review as a normal thing. Whenever you have an assignment, after the assignment, you review your strategies so that you'll be able to look and assess where you have gaps to improve on them. This is what we've done. So generally, across the country, we've done what we should. And we've done another set of threat analysis. Because this is gubernatorial election, it goes deeper than the presidential per se. We've taken note of certain areas that we think we should fortify properly, and we've done proper deployment. And even as of yesterday, we see sending support to them so that we will not have unnecessary issues in those areas. So generally, we are good. We are good to go. All security agencies are working together. All of us are members of ISIS. Whichever one that comes first, people should not expect the police alone to raise down to any scene if there's any problem. If the military gets there first, they're part of ISIS. If civil defense gets there first, they're part of ISIS. I mean the Inter-Agency Consultative Committee on Election Security. So far you're a member of ISIS, you are duty bound to respond to calls. Not only that the man on this uniform should be the one you see. And I want I'm sure that in most cases, they respond on time. Apart from one place in Lagos, they are saying they are not on time, but the military eventually got to that place. There they are saying, why must the military come? Is the police. But we all know that they are part of ISIS. They are part of the security management for this election. So I don't want Nigerians to just think that police alone will just be everywhere. Anywhere you see any security agency or agent, they are part of us. We work together, and it's a collective responsibility for us to make sure we nip any incidents on board on time.
Well, let's move away from election security now to Agege local government area. INEC, we understand, is distributing some of the sensitive materials there. Our correspondent is live for us, Kevin Obente. Hi, Kevin. Kevin, do tell us what's going on there and how smoothly that is ongoing in Agege where you are.
All right, thank you, Millicent. We've moved from Ikeja local government area, INEC office. We are now at Orile Agege, which covers Orile Agege as a local government, and Agege also, which is the federal local government of Orile Agege. This is the INEC area office where materials are being arranged. You can see behind me the activities going on. Officers are trying to get these materials loaded in vehicles that are already on ground to transport them to their different wards. So what we understand is that this has been going on since morning, and many times from now we see these vehicles taking these items to their different destinations. But I have with me here the INEC Deputy Director here who is coordinating the affairs. And she's going to tell us what is going on here and an update of the materials they have on ground, the preparation for tomorrow's election. Thank you very much, Madam.
Presently we are moving our material from the local government to the RA centers, to different arrays, because we have 11 arrays in Agege here. So any moment from now, we are loading the vehicle to move out from the local government to the RA centers.
So I was wondering if this is the same situation that's playing out across the local government areas in Lagos State, because where we went to earlier, they had to delay till around now, they will start distributing. I don't know, just tell us, is this happening simultaneously? Because in some areas, they've started distributing, some areas, they've not.
This is what is happening simultaneously in all the local governments of Lagos State at present. Some we have distributed our material yesterday, which with the agents monitoring what we are doing. In Agege local government here, we have distributed non-sensitive and sensitive material since yesterday. So what we are waiting for the security official that will lead us to the RA level.
Can you give us any difference what is happening right now and what happened during the presidential and National Assembly elections in terms of improvement generally? Has there been any difference? Because last time there were complaints that materials got to certain areas late and some materials didn't were complete when they got to their destinations. Can you tell us whether we have a different situation right now?
In Agege, we don't have any such. We get to our destination at the right time. Our materials is okay. The distribution of our material is perfectly okay in Agege here. So I can only talk of my local government. I can't talk of any other local government. Our materials is complete. We are just ready to go to the center.
Okay, a final question, if you permit me. This is 12:30, about thereabout, and they're already loading vehicles. Can you tell us how long will it take you to get the materials to different units?
Units or array, different words. It won't take time. At least the longest array to this place cannot take us more than maybe 30 minutes or thereabouts. So before soon, we will move. We'll move all our material.
Okay, finally, Madam, I have to bring in this question. Last time we have issues of beavers, and a lot of people are complaining that last time they have issues, they were not working in some areas. Can you tell us, have you been able to confirm the ones you have, and whether they actually been configured for tomorrow's elections?
We have configured all our beavers, and they are working perfectly well. Even last election in Agege, we don't have issue. We don't have any problem with our beavers. All our beavers work perfectly, and I believe it will be so this time around.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Deputy Director. So, Millicent, that's the situation right here. It's been a busy scenario playing out here, and we hope that it will continue like this without any hitch. And we suppose that the same is also playing in other local government areas. And hopefully, we are looking forward to a hitch-free and fair election tomorrow.
Indeed. Many thanks, Kevin. We know you're also visiting some other local government areas. We'll allow you to go and speak to you soon. Thank you for that. We're back talking election security now. The Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 2, which comprises Lagos and Ogun State, Mr. Abiodun Alabi, has admonished men and officers of the Ogun State Police Command on professionalism, utmost sense of responsibility in the discharge of their duties ahead of tomorrow's exercise. He gave the charge in Abeokuta, the state capital, during the joint show of force and confidence building by a combined team of the police, the military, civil defense, immigration, and among other paramilitary officers, while assuring that adequate security architecture has been put in place to ensure peaceful conduct. He, however, cautions politicians and their supporters to play by the rules.
I want to enjoy all of you to display the professionalism you have displayed before. And I'm glad to inform you that the IGP is very pleased with all of you in this command, because Ogun State Command is one of the most peaceful state commands that recorded no incidents in the last presidential election and National Assembly election. So we want you to achieve the same feat this time around. We want you to improve on your performance in the last election by ensuring that you provide a very conducive atmosphere in Ogun State for the conduct of this coming election peacefully. We want you to exhibit that ethical conduct, especially of all of us, and ensure that everybody comes out to exercise their franchise without any molestation, harassment, or intimidation. And I want to advise all of you to enforce all constitutional laws, extant laws, relevant, to your profession in terms of deciding your duties as far as this election is concerned. And I want to use this opportunity to advise the political gladiators, the political players, to please advise their supporters and followers to play according to the rules. We don't want anybody to get involved in any violence. You know, election is not a do or die affair. I believe it's just a contest, you know, among the players. And they should allow peace to reign. We will support them, we will cooperate with them. But those of them who are not seeing any feelings or any plan to cause any violence, they should be ready for us that we are prepared for them too. We will not allow anybody to derail or truncate this electoral process.
Well, it is the same charge in River State. The Assistant Inspector General in charge of elections, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun, has read the Riot Act to politicians, criminally minded people who may have the intention of trying to disrupt Saturday's election. Has asked them to think twice and desist from acts capable of tarnishing the electoral process.
The 3 weeks period that we have between the last election and now have been utilized to cross our T's and dot our I's in preparing for this election. We are committed to ensuring a peaceful conduct. We will not allow any person or group of persons to disrupt this election. We are committed to ensuring peaceful conduct. And in doing this, we are going to enforce all laws relating to this election strictly. We will enforce all the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We will enforce the provision of the Criminal Code. We are not going to take anything for granted. We are deploying massively for this election. We are committed to policing this election effectively and satisfactorily. All persons who are criminally minded and who may want to come out to disrupt this election are hereby warned to have a change of mind.
Over in Edo State, it's a similar appeal. The police command is assuring voters that it would maintain a conducive environment to enable them cast their votes on Saturday, even as it appeals to political parties, politicians in the state to ensure they and their supporters abide by the law before, during and after the State House of Assembly election. The Commissioner of Police made the comments in a meeting with representatives of parties, civil society organizations and sister security agencies.
A high level of lacuna and porosity in the architecture and our security architecture in the last concluded elections, where some principal officers or public office holders in the state were allowed to move from polling unit to another, instead of restricting them to the polling unit where they have the statutory right to cast vote. As such, they go around instigating crisis and violence in other polling units.
We recognize the fact that there were gaps, and we're going to work on these gaps. Your fears have been noted. We'll ensure that those fears don't materialize. So we thank you for coming. We will work hard, harder than we did the last time, to ensure that we deliver on our mandate. So we encourage you not only to talk to your people, to be peaceful, but assure them that security will be up and doing for Saturday.
The Commissioner of Police in Borno State, Mr. Abdul Umar, says the police command in the state, they're ready for the governorship and state assembly, House of Assembly elections. Speaking on our election coverage program, the 2023 verdict, CP Umar says the police have arrested 30 political thugs ahead of Saturday's polls. He's also urging all eligible voters to come out and perform their civic duties.
In Borno State, we have developed an interagency approach all the security apparatus in Borno State are engaged in providing security, and secondly, we equally have the access where we meet and discuss. From inception, we are able to provide an enabling environment, leveraging on our initial security architecture. You know, Borno State infested with a lot of insurgency, and we have been on for quite a long time. The entire area is very peaceful, and we have provided enough and adequate security during political campaigns. And the only incident of the PDP that occurred, which has been tackled, I think for any gubernatorial aspirant to come up with an assertion or the suggestion that police have not been effective, or they have been intimidated in areas of campaigns. I don't think that one is quite online. All the gubernatorial aspirants have been given adequate security provision. Indeed, yesterday and the day before yesterday's, 2 major contenders have gone out, and security have been beefed up, and we have never received any negative report from their campaigns. The entire Borno area is very peaceful, and the last election is a testimony. There was no any complaint against the police, and we have done the needful. And after the process, we debrief our men, and even at the access level, we have reviewed all our strategies, and it is anticipated that in the coming election by tomorrow, it is going to be more purposeful and objective, and we are going to have a credible.
The president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Yakubu Maikiao, says he believes that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, can perform better in tomorrow's elections than it did in February 25th presidential and National Assembly elections. The electoral body, he says, the electoral body has faced criticisms from different quarters following the conduct of the presidential elections, which experienced some hitches, including the failure to upload the polling unit results electronically in real time, as promised by the Commission before the polls. However, speaking on Politics Today on Thursday, the NBA president said INEC has learned some lessons from the last election and they're poised to do better tomorrow.
I still believe that INEC can do more or better than what it did in the last election held on the 25th. And I can say so because I was also an observer. I went around the Federal Capital Territory. And before then, the Thursday before the election on the 25th of February 2023, we did not see the sort of deployment of electoral materials like we have seen this time around, preceding the 18th of March election for the governorship and the houses of assemblies that where elections will be held in this on Saturday the 18th. We haven't seen that. So what that tells me is that whatever lapses that we saw in the elections held on the 25th of February 2023, INEC is deliberately doing what it needs to do to deal with those issues. Whatever INEC has to do in complying with the law itself, it is important that you not only comply with the law, but give the public the confidence that you actually did so. To earn the confidence of the public to believe that you have done so, or that you have done everything possible to make sure that you have complied with the law. That is the only time that the public would accept the outcome of the results of the process that you have deployed in the conduct of the election. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Whatever you do, absent the confidence of the public in the process, then the results would not be accepted. It may have satisfied the requirement of the law, but if there is anything that would affect or create suspicion in the mind of the public such that it would think that that process was tampered with, even though that wasn't what happened, it would generally affect the view of the election.
You're still watching Lunchtime Politics on Channels Television. Still ahead, the National Youth Service Corps NYSC Committee warns against electoral crime. Do join us again. Welcome back. The Secretary General of the Federation of Agricultural Commodity Association of Nigeria, Mr. Bello Dogundaji, is asking players in the agriculture sector to vote for political leaders who are passionate and knowledgeable about the sector. He believes the requirement will be an assurance to a more developed food chain for the country.
Is someone who is industrious, who knows how to add value to agricultural commodities. You should be someone who have passion in exporting our agricultural commodities where value is added to them. He should be someone that would encourage our youth participation in agriculture. Agriculture is the highest employer of labor. We know that. So the teeming graduates that are roaming the streets who have no jobs, when there is full agricultural engagement, then they will have something to do. We are very mindful of people who have interest, because the bottom line is the interest, and topmost is the political will to drive the processes. If you have someone who have interest in agriculture, it means you have someone that would have interest on the value change in the agricultural sector. So if you have someone who has passion, he will mobilize his people towards agricultural transformation.
And while Nigerians go to the polls this Saturday, there are lots of expectations. Some would say loads from, different parts of the country, from the rising commodity prices as a challenge to unemployment, insecurity, among others. But what are the expectations? Well, joining me to talk more about this is a lawyer and labour expert, Mr. Olatunji Matthews. He joins me from our Abuja studios. Thank you. Welcome to the program. First, government, both federal and some states, they've had some very tough labour relations in the past years. But do you suppose that anything will change as Nigerians go to the ballot this time around?
Thank you very much. I believe with the way things are going on now and the new orientation and mentality of the voters, the governments who will come to place after the election have no other option than to see to the welfare of workers, because the power of voters now matters, unlike before that people come to power by different means and they don't have value for the electorate. So as we speak, they have no other option than to at least dance to the tune of the workers and the employees generally, because things have changed in Nigeria.
Well, you also know that there are teething problems. One wonders, when Labour decides to embark on these strikes, these demonstrations, do they take into consideration the economy vis-a-vis the revenue that's available?
Really, when you're talking about strike generally, before employee will go or embark on that action, they must have put a lot of things into consideration. And not only that, they must have sent a lot of warning and signals to their employer to do the needful. So failure to do that at that stage, I don't think there's need for us to blame the workers who embark on such strike, because as it is, there's no other option for them. It's about being responsible. When workers are demanding for their legitimate strikes, I think there's no need for any responsible government to deny them of this right. But be as it may, Nigeria is a country where we hardly adopt gentleman approach. We don't take things when it's normal, but when it's gone out of hand, that's when you see government running here and there to address issue, and that is not proper in a civilized society. So we don't need to blame the worker for taking that step, because they have been frustrated. And when you push a man to the wall, the next is for him to bite, and that is what's happening. Most of the workers have been pushed to the wall, and they don't have any other option than to go, and that's the last resort that a responsible workforce can adopt in a civilized society. So they are on the right path.
So perhaps another thing also is raising the revenue, for some of these states that are facing teething issues, especially the welfare of their staff. Going forward, how should government address these welfare issues to limit the number of strikes that we keep seeing administration after administration?
As regards the issue of welfare package for workers, I think the government are not being sincere, honestly speaking. Every state of the federation have what it takes to take proper care of their workforce. But the problem is that, with respect, some of these leaders, they are very lazy. They don't even want to think out of the box. Their own duty is just to come to Abuja and share formula, whatever, and go back and share. There is no time for them to sit down and reason, how can we better the lives of our workforce? What can we do as a state? There is no state within this federation that doesn't have its own source that can sustain this workforce. But we are being lazy, and that is what is coming out and showing all this. But let me state, the only solution to this issue as it stands is for government that will come at the end of the day to take the issue of welfare of these workers, give it a paramount attention. These workers, they are not asking for much. A worker needs a place to put his head. A worker needs health facility, transportation, and some other allowances. You can see what is happening in Nigeria today. Look at the price of goods, and the salary of workers are still fixed, stable. My sister, if you go, it cannot justify what we have on ground. Then how do you expect such a worker to cope? How do you expect such a worker to bring out their potentialities in them to serve the employer? It cannot work that way, because it's just like their take-home cannot even take them anywhere. They have a lot of challenges that they can face. The price of things are going up on a daily basis, and your salary is fixed. It cannot work. So what I'm saying in general is that there is need for government that will come to take over any moment from now to do the needful by adding value to the welfare of workers so that they're able to at least discharge their potentialities for the betterment of the society.
Mr. Matthew, we appreciate your time on the program. Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you to my sister.
Well, let's head over to Katsina State. Still talking election security. The police there, they're assuring residents of peaceful conduct of Saturday's elections. The State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Hakeem Yusuf, gave the assurance when he briefed the media on preparations in the state. He also warns politicians to talk to their supporters to allow the elections to be guided by the rules set by INEC as well as the Electoral Act. He's also warning against any activity that will threaten the conduct of the exercise in the state.
Because I believe by now, from the command and point for all arrangements to have peaceful election has been on the ground. And I believe the same thing has been put in place in Katsina. So hopefully, maybe we'll see on that by after tomorrow meeting with the stakeholders and the officers on the ground, I'll be able to tell you much more better. Definitely we normally have, which definitely I'll pass into them when I meet them on Thursday, tomorrow or next. I'm going to have a meeting with them. And the warning is straightforward. The politicians should talk to their followers, mostly their ardent followers, that they should allow the election to be guided by the rules, INEC rules, and the Electoral Act. And like the President and the Inspector General of Police have directed, people should be allowed to express their franchise freely, and we hope that they will abide by the rules of the game. And anybody that goes contrary to that will be dealt with according to the laws of the land.
Governorship election in Oyo State. Unconfirmed number of persons are said to be involved in a violence that broke out between members of some political parties. It was said that the groups attacked each other, leading to possible death of a councillor from one of the local government areas. The police has not yet confirmed the incident. However, the media committee of the governor of the state has condemned the killing, calling on the state police to thoroughly investigate the incident with a view to bringing the culprits to book. Ahead of Saturday's governorship and State House of Assembly elections, the Zamfara State chapter of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, they've urged youth in the state to come out en masse and vote so as to protect their interests and ensure their development in all ramifications for the overall development of the state. Speaking to newsmen in Gusau, the state capital, chairman of the State Council commended youth for believing in the democratic process of the country by contributing towards the successful conduct of previous election, appealing to them to maintain the gesture in Saturday's elections.
Let me therefore salute our youths for believing in the democratic process of our country by contributing towards the successful conduct of the Presidential and National Assembly elections peacefully, and to also remind them to maintain the gesture in the Governors and the State Assembly elections coming on Saturday, 18th of March 2023. As umbrella organizations of youth organizations in Zamfara State, we must caution the youth in the state not to sit by and watch the integrity of our state being infringed in any way or allow our peace and unity be denigrated often under any guise. We therefore advise all young people in the state to come out massively and cast their votes, as it is the only way to make difference in a democratic environment, and to also call on them to refrain from any act of electoral crimes, as the security agencies will spare no one who contributes in any measure to further stoke the embers of insecurity or election in our dear state, Zamfara. From the acceptance speech of the president-elect, we're meant to understand that this is the president that is ready to work with the youth. And we are in full conviction or firm belief that this is a time that the youth will occupy key political offices at the federal level. We are very sure from his statement that he's going to involve youth actively in governance. And in addition, we are appealing to His Excellency, the President-elect, that immediately he assume office, he should create more centers for skill acquisitions for the youth across the nation.
You've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Stay with Channels Television as we bring you the latest information ahead of tomorrow's elections, Saturday, March the 18th. The conversation continues online on our social media platforms on your screen. Thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. I'll see you again.